If you have been trapped in the binge restrict cycle, convinced that you're addicted to food, you're lacking willpower, nothing works for you, I am sharing today how my client Monica lost 27 pounds in just 12 weeks, from 190 pounds down to 163 by healing her emotional eating patterns. It was with one single session, she made a huge amount of change. It wasn't with extreme workouts or a day of calorie counting. Her story will completely change how you think about your food cravings and what true healing actually looks like. When Monica first reached out to me, she was exhausted from fighting with her own brain every single day. She told me that she had been diagnosed with binge eating and that she remembers doing that ever since she was a kid. And she knew she had to fix it because she was now at a place taking care of her own children that she'd go to stand up and she was feeling really dizzy, like she was going to pass out. And she was dealing with multiple different diagnoses that were keeping her sick. ADHD had made this impulse control around food, and she felt like she couldn't follow through with anything regularly. She was experiencing severe gallbladder attacks that were triggered by her stress and inflammatory foods, the chronic dizziness that left her feeling weak and unfocused, and then she was feeling obviously shame for trying to eat perfectly all day and then having a binge again on her flaming hot Cheetos. But here's what broke Monica the most. It was everything that she's tried that didn't work. It was Weight Watchers, it was keto, it was cleanses, it was meal replacement shakes. She had trainers that were at the gym, but nothing was actually working long term. She started to feel like she's broken, right? There's nothing else that's actually working for her. And it was time for me to help in her healing the root cause of what was actually causing all this to begin with. As we started to work together, Monica began sharing stories that I hear from so many clients. She grew up in a household where food was love, celebrations, elaborate meals, and comfort came through these dishes. And emotions weren't discussed. So when you're sad or when you're scared or you're overwhelmed, like food, it fills in a really good place. Food was also control. It was clean your plate, finish your vegetables, no dessert, blah, blah, blah. By the age of 7, she learned that food could solve any other problem. So when she was stressed out about school or she was looking for some comfort, then of course the donuts were a really good fill-in for this emptiness that she was faced with. I learned in this book, in The Anatomy of a Food Addict, that we learn these childhood patterns and we can actually rewire our dopamine pathways. And Monica had been trained for decades to seek that dopamine hit through food, especially during stress. So when she tried to white knuckle her way through the cravings, she was fighting against decades of this neural conditioning. The breakthrough moment came when I told Monica something that no one has ever said, that food isn't evil and that her cravings aren't weakness. Your brain is functioning exactly the way it was trained to function. We just need to retrain it. And for the first time in the years, Monica was crying, not from shame this time, but from relief. If Monica's story is resonating with you and you suspect your relationship with food has deeper roots than just a willpower thing, I want to help you start healing. So I'd love for you to join my free 7-day email series, The Secret to Losing Weight, which includes emotional eating strategies that I used with Monica. And the link for that is in the description below. So instead of giving Monica another meal plan or another workout schedule, we focused on healing the underlying broken systems, which was driving herself to that food behavior. If I broke it down in phases, phase 1, understand the pattern. We mapped out Monica's emotional eating triggers. What was happening at 3 o'clock that day that led to the evening binge? What was happening on Sunday night that led to the anxiety about the upcoming week? What was happening with her ADHD overwhelm that made her brain seek the dopamine high through food? What was the perfectionism recovery that she was going through of, I have to be perfect all day long, and now the cravings come in? These were all actually predictable responses to specific emotional and physical states. Phase 2 was actually healing her gut and her brain connection. So Monica's gallbladder attacks and her digestive issues weren't separate from the emotional eating, they're all connected. When your gut is inflamed, your serotonin production decreases by 90%, and that's made in your gut. The vagus nerve becomes more dysregulated, affecting your brain response because the vagus nerve and the brain are directly attached. Your blood sugar stability becomes compromised because you're triggered by more and more cravings. So we started to focus on healing food foods like bone broth and fermented vegetables and anti-inflammatory spices brought in digestive support to support the gallbladder stress. And we focused on meal timing and supporting her ADHD and her energy levels. Phase 3 was all about rewiring the emotional patterns, and this was the deepest work. Monica started connecting her current eating patterns to the childhood memories. She remembered being 8 to 10 years old in her room, hiding and having donuts under her bed, and that was when her first recollection happened where she was going to hide out and eat. She recognized how food was actually her primary coping mechanism for her anxiety, her stress, her loneliness, and she didn't know how to get that need met. These insights allowed her a chance to do mindful check-ins before eating. She started to use alternative dopamine sources, like a dance party in the kitchen, like humming, like a quick walk, like calling a friend. She started to use self-compassion, so treating herself with kindness, knowing that this was only meant to help her, and it was a tool that she used since childhood, but now she had new tools. Phase 4 was all about her actually starting to implement all these things into her life, where now she didn't have to beat herself up at the gym. She actually was using movement as a part of enjoyment. She was actually using all of these pieces of fueling herself as a way of self-care. The magic wasn't in specific exercises, it was in removing the all or nothing mentality that was keeping her stuck and actually appreciating and respecting all of these patterns as part of her path that brought us to where she's at now. Weeks 1 through 3, we were really working on the foundation. So the digestive symptoms improved, the gallbladder attacks became less frequent and less severe. The energy stabilized, so no more 3 p.m. crashes that were triggering like, I need a snack. And her sleep quality started to improve. So she wasn't going to bed in a food coma and she wasn't waking up exhausted. Weeks 4 through 6, this is when the shift happened with cravings. Instead of this desperate and overwhelming urges, they started to have less of the food cravings. She started to have emotional awareness around her eating patterns. Instead of eating a full sandwich when she was full after half, she started to put half away. Instead of ordering the grande coffee, she ordered a small and still enjoyed it the same exact way she was used to. Weeks 7 through 11, the integration, the relationship with food is now improved because now she's taken out all the trigger foods that were causing an issue with her blood sugar imbalances and with her hunger cues. And by now at this point, she's already lost 25 pounds. Now she's feeling so much more confident in her body. The weight loss ended up being the side effect for healing her relationship with food and stress and with herself. And if you want to learn the specific emotional eating strategies that I use with Monica, you can go ahead and jump in on the 7-day email series that walks you through the framework, and you're going to start to understand your own patterns and your own triggers within the first couple days. Monica's transformation wasn't magic. It was neuroscience in action. And what's actually happening here is that her brain and her body is starting to heal that dopamine pathway. When she stopped restricting herself and started nourishing herself, she started to actually feel better and not seek this emergency dopamine source through food. She was actually getting more steady, more satisfaction from balanced meals and alternate rewards, meaning I don't need to go to food to get this emotional need met or this physical need met. Her overall body started to heal itself. Instead of eating these inflammatory foods as a reward, now her body's in less inflammation and less constant stress and is feeling a lot better overall. Lower chronic stress meant more stable cortisol, which improved everything from her sleep to her cravings. In terms of neuroplasticity, every time Monica thinks about having a binge, she now knows that it's just an emotional connection she's looking for. These are the changes that can make an entire world of difference when you start to implement little strategies that actually work. That's why Monica's results were sustainable. She's not fighting against her body anymore. She's actually working with it. Monica's story destroys some of the dangerous myths about weight loss and emotional eating. The first one, you need extreme restriction to lose weight. False. Monica lost 27 pounds eating 3 satisfying meals plus snacks. Restriction was actually what kept her trapped in that binge cycle, so we definitely do that. The second myth, emotional eating means you're lacking willpower. which is not true. Monica's emotional eating was a protective, normal response to being under stress and not having the tools to actually heal herself. Myth number 3, you need to have intense workouts to see results. This is not the case. She was hitting maybe 2 days of gym per week, sometimes not, depending on the kids, depending on how she was feeling. She still lost the weight without extreme exercises and without triggering herself to feel like she needed to be in extreme deprivation. And the 4th myth, food addiction is just permanent. She went from binge eating with the diagnosis to completely overnight changing her relationship with food. She has never had a binge since we had this call. So now she's at a place of her health where she doesn't need to rely on these foods, but she can have it every now and again. And she recognizes how she feels when she does eat trigger foods. All part of a learning lesson, no part of the shame game. I've learned through this process that your body is incredibly brilliant, and patterns that are self-destructive, like going on extreme diets or burning yourself out of the gym, is not what I teach any of my clients to do in my Deeply Rooted program. Monica didn't overhaul her entire life overnight. She made these gradual shifts that compounded over time, and the community and support is essential. She didn't heal in isolation. She had guidance, she had accountability, and most importantly, she had somebody who believed in her capacity to change. And this is exactly what I help women do inside my Deeply Rooted systems, a space where busy moms can actually heal their relationship with food, their bodies, without obsessive tracking or extreme measures. We just focus on understanding your unique patterns and healing your gut-brain connection for better mood and appetite regulation. And we create sustainable movement that works for you rather than punishes you. And we work to develop emotional coping skills that don't involve relaxation with food. In doing this, you start to build lasting confidence and self-compassion for yourself. And the women in this space are transformed, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. We've actually addressed the root problems. Monica's story isn't just about weight loss. It's about food freedom. Freedom from feeling guilty every time you eat, feeling from living in this restrictive binge cycle, or believing that you're broken or have a bad lack of willpower, that you suck at following systems, or that you need to hide eating from your family. I've totally done this before so many times in my life. And Monica modeled that emotional regulation for her children instead of emotional eating. And now she has energy to do the things that matter instead of feeling drained by food drama. She learned to trust her body's signals again instead of fighting against them. She learned that she can enjoy food without guilt and find satisfaction in nourishing yourself. And all this is possible when you stop trying to control your weight and you start healing your relationship with your food, your emotions, and yourself. So if Monica's story gives you hope, and this is the kind of transformation that you would like to experience for yourself, then you're definitely gonna want to get in on this 7-day email series where I'll walk you through the same principles that I use to start to shift the mindset. And within days, you'll start to see how this stuff compounds and builds upon each other to make small shifts in the day that makes a massive world of difference. If this resonates with you, hit the thumbs up, subscribe for more real-time stories of healing and sustainable weight loss, and tell me in the comments, what part of this story do you connect with most? Sometimes it's just naming the pattern that's that first step towards healing. And don't forget to grab that free 7-day email series. It contains the exact emotional eating framework that Monica used to lose 27 pounds and find peace with food. Monica provides that you're not broken, you're not lacking willpower, and sustainable change is absolutely possible for you. Your peaceful relationship with food is waiting, and I'm so excited to get to know more about you.